So, over the past few weeks, we've been having a look at the topic of settlement, and there's a few different kind of keywords that I just wanted to go over so that we're exactly sure what they mean. So, when it gets to your exam, you know what the question's asking and you know how to answer it as well to get you best prepared. So, the first one, when I was marking some of your books, there was a question about asking what the consequence of something was. Now, it's really, really important that we know the difference between a cause and a consequence because we use these words quite often, but actually knowing what they mean can be a little bit trickier. So if I was to say the cause of me being fat was to eat lots of chocolate, therefore then the consequence of me eating lots of chocolate is becoming really fat. So the cause is something which causes something else to happen, and then the consequence is what happens as a result of that. Now I'm going to talk you through a few more of the keywords just so that we can kind of revise what the definitions are, and as well I'm going to get some images on the screen as well so you can really visualise them, and that should hopefully help your memory as well for when it comes to your exam. So when we're looking at our Burgess model, you can see it's a concentric rings model, so that shows that it forms out basically in rings. So the inside is the CBD, the Central Business District. This is the centre of the city. So this is an example of a CBD of Melbourne in Australia. So you can see there's lots of high-rise flats, there's going to be shops, there's not going to be houses in this section. This is the inner city where there is houses. It's this low quality housing though of Victorian terraces where you're likely to find gentrification in certain cities. Now this is in North London, this is an example of gentrification, and you can see also how they've done up the insides of the buildings so they look really, really nice. That's gentrification. This is the suburbs, so this is probably going to be inner suburbs, quite a large house and a nice garden, perhaps where you guys might live yourselves. And then finally we move to the outer suburbs and the rural to urban fringe. So you're moving right out into the countryside and you're going to see cottages. This is what you expect to find in the country. Now, urbanisation is the process where a lot of people are moving to urban areas, so in other words, to cities. So that's what we're looking at here. Suburbanisation is the process where a lot of people are moving out from the cities to the suburbs for a cleaner air and a better quality of life. Where one person moves, this is called migration. So if we're talking about individual cases, we might be talking about one person migrating to the city, or they might choose to migrate out of the city to the suburbs. So that's a migrant. One person is a migrant. So to break that down further using the correct geographical language, we need to know the difference between an emigrant and an immigrant as well. So one person moving as a migrant, you emigrate away from an area with one M, emigrate, and then you immigrate to an area. And for some reason that word has two M's. So immigration is when you're moving into an area, emigration is when you're moving out of an area. So you might emigrate away from the CBD and immigrate to the suburbs. Now, if we move on to have a look at retail geography, your case study is going to be Junction 32, that is Freeport in Castleford. Now, it's really, really important that you're specific when you're describing the location and the case study that you're talking about, because there's a small percentage of people who live in Castleford. The likelihood of your examiner also being from Cass is going to be very, very small. So if you're talking about Junction 32, tell the examiner what Junction 32 is, because they might just have an image in their mind, like this one on the screen here, of a junction on the motorway. Be really, really specific so then they know that you're talking about an outlet centre in Castleford in West Yorkshire. Talk about the location, that's a really, really key part of Geography GCSE. So once you've started to talk about the location correctly and you're talking about the outlet centre in West Yorkshire, then you should be talking about the fact that it's got free parking, the fact that these are outlet stores, so they're offering quality kind of produce at a really cheap price. So these are factory discount stores and things like that. So it's going to encourage people to come from a wide sphere of influence. Get your kind of geographical terms in there as well. But obviously the consequences for Castleford aren't all going to be positive. There's also going to be negatives, such as the closing down of shops that aren't part of Freeport, because instead of shopping at Cass, you might choose to go to the outlet centre instead because of all those pull factors that are going to push you away from this area and pull you towards shopping at Junction 32 as well. So the last couple of things I wanted to do was to go over some of the key definitions of words that you're going to be using in your exam, and then leave you with some revision notes. So the outer suburbs then, they're houses that you find on the outskirts of a city, large houses with large gardens where you want to move to if you've got a car to get you into the city for work. Then we have the rural urban fringe, which again is right on the outskirts, just outside of the outer suburbs, and that's the barrier between the countryside and the city. Then we have the CBD, which is a central business district, where you're likely to find high-rise flats and shops, not houses in that area. Then we've got urbanisation. This is the process whereby people move from the countryside to the cities, and so that's a group of people moving en masse. Then we have rural. Now rural means kind of outside in the country, so people might move from a rural area to an urban area, and that brings us on to our next keyword, which is urban. So urban basically just means like a built up area, like a town or a city. Then we move on to our next word, which is hierarchy. Now you've heard of the hierarchy of settlements, whereby we have the villages right at the bottom, and on the top we've got conurbations, e.g. Salford and Manchester. Then our final word is counter-urbanisation. That's a process where people are moving from the cities to the suburbs.
Some nights I stay up, cashing in my bad luck. Some nights I call it a draw. Some nights I wish that my lips could build a castle. Some nights I wish they'd just fall off. But I still wake up, I still see your ghost. But Lord, I'm still not sure what I stand for. Oh, what do I stand for? What do I stand for? Most nights I don't know anymore. Stops my bones from wandering just who I am, who I am, oh, who am I? Well, some nights I wish that this all would end, 'cause I could use some friends for a change. And some nights I'm scared you'll forget me again. Some nights I always win. For this, I miss my mom and dad for this. No, when I see stars, when I see stars, that's all they are. When I hear songs, they sound like a swan. So come on, well, don't see guys, daddy's on 5 minutes in and I'm bored again. 10 years of this, I'm not sure if anybody understands. This one is not for the folks at home. Sorry to leave, mama had to go. Who the fuck wants to die alone, all dried up in the desert sun? My heart is breaking for my sister and the calm that she call love. Man, I look into my nephew's eyes. Man, you wouldn't believe the most amazing things that can come from some terrible lies.